I'm Trish Regan in for Lou Dobbs, who is on vacation tonight. The State Department today ordering home nearly 60% of its diplomatic staff in Cuba following a series of mysterious attacks on 21 U.S. Embassy employees. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson also warned U.S. citizens against visiting Cuba until investigators determined who is behind the attacks, which caused victims to suffer symptoms like headaches, dizziness, and fatigue. Joining me right now to discuss the latest with Cuba, North Korea, and a whole lot more, retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, now a senior fellow with the London Center for Policy Research. Good to have you here. As always, this Cuba story just keeps getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Any idea what happened? I mean, who may have been responsible? What are you hearing?
No, the bottom line is we don't know, but either by commission or collusion, the Cubans are responsible. And let me be very clear on this. They're still a communist country. They still are responsible for the security of that embassy. And, I don't care if it's a third country. They're the ones supposed to be controlling and patrolling those areas around the embassy. So I would not be surprised, Trish, if we learn eventually that this was kind of duplicity on the Cubans' part. Oh, we have no idea. Yet they're taking a shot at us.
Well, what a stupid thing to do, though. I mean, really. I mean, here they had an opportunity of a lifetime to grow their economy with U.S. tourism, and they shoot themselves in the foot so quickly, Colonel?
Well, I think that's part of the issue here. They've never been that bright relating to long-term objectives. Remember, during the 70s, we had issues with them regarding some of the things that were going on. Remember, the Russians, for goodness sake, actually did things like this at the Russia embassy in Moscow.
And let's not forget who trained the Cubans, right?
Right, exactly. And during the 70s, we were trying to kind of do the right thing and trying to open up relationships. So, again, you have to understand there's hardliners still in the Cuban government. And, Trish, I think we were fools to not ask for concessions relating to human rights, relating to assurances that these sort of things would not happen.
Colonel, why would we do that when President Obama was so excited to finally open up Cuba?
Right.
And then he got to go to a baseball game.
Right.
And
that's the issue.
Meet the famous Castro down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me turn to North Korea, another big issue in the world right now, Colonel. And there are still questions about what are we going to do here. I mean, I've said over and over again, go after China. China has the intelligence and the capability. Thank you, sir.
Right.
So what do we need to do? Because they are in violation of major World Trade Organization agreements. They're stealing $200 to $300 billion dollars from us in intellectual property every year.
Right. Well, let's start with Korea and go to China real quick. First, I've seen this think tank report from the British, one of the British think tanks saying, oh, we may start a war. There's a war on. It's never finished. That's why we're here. We've got standing armies on both sides of the demilitarized zone ready to fight. The question now becomes, can President Trump walk everything back and resolve this thing that started in 1951? And the answer is, as you point out, China. The North Korean peninsula, Trish, is an experiment by the Chinese. It's an experiment. It's like a petri dish for social experimentation. And the North Koreans have been trotted out as a bulldog to scare the bejesus out of people when they wanted to, and they rein them in. It's all about China. And so if a miscalculation occurs where something happens, a hot war reoccurs, the Chinese are going to be the most affected, and I don't know if they really have internalized that. South China Sea, all their fuel comes through there. The Philippines and Vietnamese hate them and would do things against them. So I think the Chinese have to understand. So what you're saying is important in that, in other words, it's really not in China's interest to have someone who's not dependable there in North Korea. They should want to get rid of Kim Jong-un. I hear you. They haven't really indicated. I mean, we're getting kind of wishy-washy responses from them. I think if they wanted to get rid of him and put him off in a corner and do an actual regime change, Colonel, I'd like to think they could. I'd like to believe they could too, but you have to remember that the Chinese act very slowly, very deliberately. So I think maybe it's going to take them some time. Remember, China, they're still a communist country too. They're more nationalistic than communist, but they still have to go through their own internal process. I hope President Trump, has helped educate them on the downside of their inability to take care of North Korea. I really hope he has.
I hope he has too, and I think if he doesn't, there is a real economic threat that we can actually utilize. And that we are their #1 customer.
Correct.
For all those goods that they export around the world, we're the ones that buy them. And so without us there buying those goods, it would be a severe economic impact. And so they should realize very soon, for their own national security, they don't want Kim Jong-un there. And for their own economic security, they don't want Kim Jong-un there.
The moment we threaten, Trish, their favored nation status, I think that would be a severe threat to their economy that they would take seriously. So that's something, if I were President Trump, I would do.